Ladies and gentlemen, please keep going with your main course if it's still in front of you, but we're going to press on with the next part of our event here this afternoon. So I'll just give you a moment to head back to your seats if you're not there already. Thank you very much. Before I invite our guest up to the stage, just wanted to make a quick mention of our valued charity partner in Miners Promise. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with the work that Miners Promise does, but you may not know what we're up to in terms of the money that we've been able to generate through these events. So a portion of the ticket sales for luncheons like this one go to Miners Promise, and so far this year we've managed to raise over $15,000, which is fantastic. And your attendance here today will add a little bit more to that. So it's a partnership we're incredibly proud of, and look forward to working with them further in the future. Please keep your phones out and jump into the online Q&A portal if you haven't already. That's the Slido instructions up there on the screen. That will allow you to submit a question. Hopefully we'll have time towards the end of our chat here today to throw a few of your questions at our guest speaker. So just point your phone at that QR code there and that'll take you straight to the session. So our guest this afternoon, Dale Henderson. You might like to know that under his leadership, PLS has been able to solidify its position as a Tier 1 large-scale operator and global lithium producer. Dale joined PLS back in 2017 as Chief Operating Officer. He's been instrumental in the company's transformation from an emerging developer to one of Australia's leading mining companies. His strategic vision and operational expertise have driven the company's elevation to the ASX 100 and the establishment of the Pilgangoora operation as the world's largest independent hard rock lithium operation. As Managing Director and CEO, Dale has delivered significant growth and global expansion, including the strategic acquisition and development of the Colina project in Brazil. He's also advanced PLS's value chain strategy through the company's downstream chemical joint venture with POSCO in South Korea and midstream initiatives, broadening PLS's participation across the value chain and strengthening the company's position as a globally integrated lithium supplier. So as you welcome Dale up to the stage, we have a short video to show you. So as Dale makes his way up here, please turn your attention to the screens. Thank you, Dale. Great to see some of the things you've got operating at the moment in the PLS and in Pilbara and beyond. As I was doing my deep dive, I must say, into PLS, it was quite a shock to hear that it's only really been going a fairly short space of time, hasn't it? So much has happened in the 11 or so years since PLS began. So let's talk a little bit about the PLS story. Take us back to 2014 when this thing first emerged.
Yeah, sure. So PLS is just an amazing homegrown WA success story, and one of those ones founded by geos, so 5 geos who all went to uni together in the 80s, the WA Institute of Technology. They got together again 20 years later, around 2013, acquired the asset on the hunt for tantalite, and little did they know that they were at that time, lithium was starting to take off. It was really the start of lithium batteries actually really starting to come forward, because at that point, lithium was all about ceramics, medicine and lubricants. believe it or not.
Right.
So a bit of luck, but a lot of hard work, and really that founding 5 geos really teed it off and got it started. Obviously, a bunch more people came in, and it's been this sort of incredibly volatile market, highs and lows. But yeah, here we are today. Scale, operator, independent, proudly homegrown, so pretty remarkable. And by the way, those geos, one of them still works for us, John Holmes, or employee number 1, as he reminds us. He's here today, John, our employee.
Nice find, John.
Well done, John. Well done, mate. And just while we are teeing off on the backstory, it's all been made possible because of WA. I mean, you know, when I reflect on the fledgling that we were, it was brought into existence because of the contractors, the designers, the operators, the supportive territory that we have here, our Indigenous owners, Nyamal. There's a lot of groups who brought this to life, so it truly is a state-driven story.
Yeah. Did the 5 geos have any idea what they'd stumbled upon?
No.
Back at that time?
I think I can say no, John. As I say, they were chasing tantalite. They secured the assets around 2013. They went to the world's lithium conference at that time in 2015. It was attended by about 150 people, and that's where they heard for the first time the lithium industry talk about, gee, there's this thing called the lithium battery. And these were the ceramics buyers. They were saying, gee, we're a bit worried about this. These battery guys might actually really mess up our market. And that's where John Young and Neil Biddle and the whole team said, we're onto something. And they were.
Absolutely. Fascinating to hear that the market was ultimately driven by ceramics and glass, demand for it. Again, a relatively short time ago. We're talking sort of, in the middle of last decade. Did you have any idea at that time that the demand drivers were going to change so dramatically in a very short space of time, just a couple of years down the track?
Yeah, look, it's I think it surprised everyone, and certainly by the time I started, look, we all believed conceptually about what was possible, but as the market sort of found its feet, it's had some false starts. We had a price rally in 2018, followed by what I call sort of our lithium winter number 1, which for us was a real fight for survival. But really post-COVID, it was a whole new era where EV adoption went mainstream, batteries for power has become very much mainstream, particularly of late, and it's really started to take off. So it has been a surprise.
Yeah. 2017, you first started with the company. What are your memories of first walking into the PLS office in 2017 when, as you say, it was a fledgling operator?
Yeah, so we had some humble offices on Collins Street, West Perth, which as the story goes, was a big upgrade from Freo, where there was surfboards and whatnot. But humble offices in West Perth, and befitting of a company with no money and $100 million US debt, and a bold dream.
Fast forward now to 2025. Give us a snapshot of where PLS is now at.
Yeah, well, it's been an extraordinary journey as a function of a company rising to serve this incredible growth industry. And that, PLS is really a manifestation of serving that demand. And being a young industry, it's been volatile, growing from a small base. So we've seen it all. So the false start, I sort of mentioned, the 2018 rally, which precipitated the first price crunch, which by the way was also heavily impacted by EV subsidies in China being pulled away, because at that point the demand was China-centric. Fast forward, post-COVID, global stimulus, EVs, and the want of many countries looking to foster forward future-facing industries, that really ignited a demand rush and has catalysed a global build-out of demand. And here we are, and PLS has rode that journey, the highs, the lows, and here we are today.
There's constant commentary around the appetite for electric vehicles, some of it pointing to a slowdown, that the initial wave of interest has now subsided. I suppose you're at the pointy end of that demand, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, what does your data tell you about EVs currently and the trajectory that demand is on?
Sure, Tim. There is no slowdown. It is,
which goes quite against a lot of what you see and what you read, doesn't it?
That's right. So the recent EV data remains really strong. So the last reporting period, it was still a 20% increase year on year, which is pretty remarkable. That's being maintained. Why you sometimes hear of EVs are dying or so on and so forth is principally from the US, and because we have seen pullback through the US, and that's no surprise given the growing pains of the auto industry there, and the US sort of headlines sort of block out the sky. But the reality is demand from the US is a small part of the demand set, it's approximately 10%. Yes, it's the world's second biggest auto market, it's really important, but right now it's not that relevant, frankly, to the global demand.
Okay, and yet lithium very much front and centre now of global conversations, geopolitical conversations, debates around decarbonisation. You know, Donald Trump's talking about lithium these days. There seems to be a lot of noise around the sector and around PLS as well. As the CEO, how do you go sort of navigating your way through all of that noise and finding yourself suddenly really in the spotlight?
Yeah, no, it's good fun. Tiring, and there's never a dull moment. And look, I just put it down to the fact that we've got this incredible situation where we're a scale operator serving a really strong growth market, but it just happens to be at the toe of multiple new industries sort of stepping forward, and it's just changing all the time. So you've got these strong growth demands, which we touched on, the EVs and mass energy storage, but separate to that, globally there's this race around supply chain security, and that's been particularly heightened of late around critical minerals, which is a broad umbrella that many countries want their own secure supply chain for critical minerals, of which lithium's one, but I think top of the pack there is really some of the rare earths. There's a link there to defence, there's a link there to some of the computer tech. So there's been a real urgency around that, and you're seeing that in the headlines with the US and Aussie. Last week we were in Korea, it was all the talk. And I think there's just more of that to come, as I say, as countries look to secure up their supply chains.
Yeah, and you find yourself pretty high up on the, on the invitation list for world events.
Yeah, it's been
these days.
It's been a bit that way. Yeah. So
how close have you come to, sharing the same room as world leaders?
Oh, not that close.
I mean, would you like to though, or do you welcome that being part of the, the news cycle and being part of the buzzwords of the day, or would you prefer just to go and do your own thing and just sail through, dig it up, ship it off, meet your
Well, it'd have
customers?
to be a bit of fun, wouldn't it, to meet some of the world leaders? Last week we were at APEC, and yeah, we were in the auditorium that Trump showed up. We happened to be driving there on the way there. He showed up in the morning, and we were there in the afternoon. That's as close as we've got. But look, happy to take an invite.
Yeah, okay. You stepped into the CEO role in 2022. I think at that time the lithium price was 5 or 6 times what it is now. Did you have any idea at that point in 2022 that the price was going to fall off a cliff?
Intuitively, we expected it to, but we hoped it wouldn't. And yeah, it was a remarkable price rally, and I put that, and it surprised everyone, and I put that down to just this combination of strong growth drivers and just an absence of supply, and plus an immature market, and it precipitated this incredible price rally. By the way, we helped fuel that. We had our own sort of eBay for product sales called BMX, so we enjoyed that. We helped sort of inflate that pricing, and as night follows day, and you see this time and time again in mining, sure enough, the cycle turned, and the next lithium winter bit in.
Yeah. I've read some comments of yours around that time when you were talking about setting up that, an exchange platform, if you like, to get a fairer price for your products. Did you ever seriously entertain actually, like literally selling your lithium or your spodumene on eBay? Like, was that a serious thing? I mean, how do you even? What do you put in the in the title?
We did discuss it.
You discussed it, yeah.
But we thought it's probably not a great look.
How would you have tagged that on the screen?
World's best lithium.
Yeah. And then how many tons you want to buy? Just fill out.
No, it did cross our mind, and we thought, we could probably find another way. Sure enough, we did, and we did talk to a number of platforms globally. There's a group called Global Coal who does the coal sales, and it wouldn't surprise you they're keen to diversify. We chatted to them, we chatted to the iron ore guys and a few others, but the group we partnered with this is another WA group, being GLX.
Yep.
And they had built a platform for LNG. It was really slick, really good. We adopted that, and that's what we got started on. But you're giving me flashbacks to our first auction at West Perth, the old offices, and we broke $1,000 a tonne, and which was a really big deal. We hooted and hollered, and it was just the most incredible time. We had no idea that in the months which would follow, we would exceed $8,000 a tonne. So, a remarkable period.
Yeah. What have the last few years been like? You must have had a few sleepless nights navigating your way through, massive price falls, and a time when some of your competitors in the market were also having to consider scaling back operations, even shutting down mines. There was no sign that the price was going to suddenly recover. What was it like for you on a personal level?
Incredibly tough period. That period pre-COVID was without question the most brutal, and this was before the price rally I mentioned. And we got TK here, Tony Cannon, the chairman at the time, who was integral to navigating that period, along with the rest of the board and the management team. But that period was formative in terms of instilling, I guess, lessons and the approach you wanted to take. So fast forward to that period of wonderful prosperity and bountiful fruits. We were determined not to waste that. And what that meant practically was hanging on to our cash, investing in getting stronger and lower cost, and being deliberate about our supply chain partnerships and really reinforcing the business as best possible in the expectation of tougher price environment, which unfortunately is exactly what occurred. But those decisions put us in good stead, and I feel we've positioned the business really well, and we still had enough capacity to get on and do some acquisitions and some investments during this part of the cycle, which is brilliant. So I think today we're incredibly well placed. We've got a bigger ship, if you will. We're out on the water, sails are up, and we're ready to go for the next rally.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, when others were burning through their cash, you went and spent over $500 million on a mine in Brazil.
Yeah.
You went quite against the grain at the time.
Yeah.
Can you give us some insight into the conversations around the boardroom table? While you're seeing others, going in a different direction, you're proposing that we go and spend $560 million on an operation in Brazil.
That's right.
How do those conversations go? And at some point, I suppose you had to sort of stare the future in the eye, didn't you, and back yourselves?
That's it. And importantly, the team, the directors, management combined, we all had to circle, do we want to do this? Because we didn't need to. But just sort of to rewind back the clock, calendar year 23, there was a lot of lithium purchases locally. There was a lot going on. We sort of stayed out of that. But as we went into calendar year 24, price was still declining, and there was a period of about 9 months where there'd been no lithium transactions. And we broke that silence, did that transaction, and the cross-examination around that was intense, as you'd expect, because we didn't need to do it. But when we scrutinised the prospects of that, it just all stacked up. Great asset, great location, and delighted we've done it.
Yeah. So the investment's paying off.
It's looking good so far. Ultimately, the proof is in the pudding once we've built the place and got it operating, et cetera, so that'll take a few years. But so far, so good. No buyer's remorse, and if anything, we've become more excited about the purchase. And one of the sort of the really nice side benefits I certainly underestimated was just the impact for community. In that this particular mine is adjacent to a very small town called Salinas. It's very poor, it's very impoverished, even though it's within a very successful mining state being Minas Gerais. It's a poor area, and this mine and the prospect of this mine means the world to them. So that's really neat. So we kind of knew this conceptually, but when you get on the ground and you hear from the team and some of the locals who are working for us, they are so excited and so happy we're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
And what's it been like operating in Brazil now compared to WA? How do you compare and contrast the two?
Yeah. Well, it was early days for us, and the transaction only finalised in March. Look, I think there's a lot of similarities. I mean, Minas Gerais, which is the name of the state, actually means general mining. So that's actually the name of the state, because it's resource rich. It is a mining state, much like WA. So they have got the best in class mining in terms of service providers and gear and know-how. That is there, and they are a world-class mining jurisdiction. So there's some common ground there. I think there's some common ground in terms of the spirit by which they want to get things done. I think that's been a happy coincidence to see that. The differences are they are incredibly family orientated. They're very, very close as a team. That's been a really nice thing to find out. But there's a lot ahead of us. We're just doing more drilling. There's a project to be built. There's a lot more to come.
I guess if I distill that question down, is it easier to get stuff done in Brazil than it is in WA?
Oh, gee. I'd have to say so far, yes.
So far, yes. Okay. Well, let's talk about the policy settings that you have to work within here in Australia. How are you finding it at the moment? We hear constant commentary around just the burden of regulation here in Western Australia, in Australia, on many different levels. But how do you find it, navigating your way through it, PLS, getting approvals for what you want to do?
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
Well, we would join the chorus of many others who say that it's got more difficult and more protracted. I think that is definitely the case, and of course there's plenty of efforts through likes of CME, shout out to Aaron, who are advocating to government on ways to streamline, whilst also maintaining the very high standards that Australia, in particular WA, is respected for. But there are more improvements required, and we've got to keep focused on the fact that we've got to be globally competitive. This state in Australia at large has been leading the world in resourcing. It really has, but we can lose that mantle, and I think unless we continue to get better and better in all aspects, we will lose that. And in the case of lithium, is a bit of a case in point. In the last sort of 3 years, our market share has shrunk relative to the world. Although we've grown, others are growing faster.
You mean WAs or you mean
I'm talking
PLSs?
Australia-wide, lithium contribution. We had more market share 3 years ago than we do today.
Yeah.
So relatively, we're regressing relative to the rest. So, and if we don't have a successful upstream, we certainly can't have successful downstream because one leads to the other.
Do you welcome the sorts of interventions we're seeing at the moment, like the critical mineral stockpile? Is that a good idea?
In our view, the best role for government is to invest in shared infrastructure. So investing on the cost side of the equation, because if you can invest in shared infrastructure, port and power, you can almost permanently lower the cost base for all. That makes us more competitive long term. On the revenue side, if you look to do price support, which could happen from, that's been floated, the challenge there, although that could be very beneficial, and we'll take it, the challenge is you might inadvertently support the wrong projects, which would be a waste of taxpayers' money.
Okay, so where should they, in terms of PLS specifically, a round of applause out there, that won't go well. Where would you rather see them invest that might smooth the way for PLS?
Oh, PLS?
Yeah.
They can just
Just
support us.
shareholders.
You got it.
No, you talk about shared infrastructure. Is there anything in particular you'd like to see?
Yeah, so locally for us, it's about finishing off Lumsden Point, which is the government's part completed. So that's a no-brainer. Then after that, it is power infrastructure. Those would be really the two key areas.
Yeah, we hear a lot about just the cost of energy at the moment and how much of a handbrake that is on development in the sector. Is that applicable to you as well?
It is very much so. And to put it in perspective, our asset in Brazil, power costs are something like 4 to 5 cents per kilowatt, hydropower. In the Pilbara, depending on your power source, it could be anywhere from 10 cents per kilowatt to 20 cents per kilowatt plus if you're on
Yeah.
diesel. So, mining's obviously energy intensive. That's a key strategic advantage for other countries with lower cost power. Now, we should have low cost power. We've got the space, we've got solar, wind, you name it. I think that's a key place for government to play, is to leverage the incredible strengths we've got to bring that cost power down.
Yeah. Looking at the way forward from here, I read, I think last week, JP Morgan put out an upgraded expectation for lithium prices over the next year or so. They're talking about possibly a 50% lift in the next year.
Yeah.
That must make you walk a bit taller, hearing that.
Well, good on JP Morgan. About time.
Do you share that view, that optimistic view?
Well, what do you think?
Only 50?
I'm a believer in lithium. Look, I think the long game is incredible for lithium, those drivers we mentioned.
Yeah.
We think a structural deficit is emerging. For the simple reason, demand is growing, supply is not being invested in. It seems almost an inevitability that emerges. The question is when, and it's been interesting to note that analysts were, as recent as a year ago, were expecting there would be no turn within this decade, or some were saying 29, 28. Well, that is now increasingly being brought more and more forward to, like JP Morgan next year, and it's looking more likely.
Yeah.
But time will tell.
And you mentioned that the EV demand is still strong and getting stronger. Are there any other factors now that are driving demand and hopefully dragging the price up with it?
Just to cover off ESS, that has really been the awakening giant. So this is battery packs for solar farms or behind the meter battery packs. That growth rate is something like 40% at the moment, 40% from last year. And last year was 50% growth in the prior year. Now, 5 years ago, that spoke for 3% of demand, 5 years ago. Fast forward to today, it's about 17% of total lithium demand. So go 3 to 17 in 5 years, plus it's growing at that growth rate of 40 to 50%. So that has the potential to eclipse EV demand. So that's really the big one. And things like the AI data center boom, that's all helping fuel that. But separate to that, there are a whole bunch of new green shoots. So there's a lot more trucks are going to electric. Penetration in trucks is about 4%. Last year, China's growth in that grew by 100%. So it's the toe of that curve. You're seeing EV tolls, the flying drones. You're seeing motorbikes. Honda just came out with an announcement on a new motorbike for release next year, 26.
Yeah. I think we might even have a picture of you
we do.
at some point climbing into one of these amazing new machines. So that's in China there, where you were recently. That's
Guangzhou, China.
That's a flying taxi, essentially, is it?
That's EV toll, electric vertical takeoff and landing. There's no pilot. There's just me in there.
There's no pilot in there.
It's pretty scary in that respect. It's got a range of about 30 kilometres. And this group has actually been working with us for about 10 years. They've flown in about 16 countries and counting. And really the key thing is the regulations. So they're working very hard with a whole bunch of different countries to get the regulations solved so they can get deployed en masse.
What did you have to tick on your travel insurance application when you were known this? I'm going to jump in a flying drone with no pilot in it.
Next question.
But I suppose the point being that there are all these emerging drivers of demand coming into the equation as well, which is great news for you, I suppose. You talked about sort of where we fit into the global picture now, our output on the global stage. I think it's gone from about 80% to about 30% in recent years. Yeah. Can we drag that back up again, or are we fighting against now more and more miners internationally that are all feeding into the one?
No, we can win, and we should keep focused on that. Why we should be able to is we've got the assets, we've got incredibly high quality assets here, and we've got the know-how, but we can't be complacent. We need to continue to invest in those cost down aspects to make us more globally competitive. Yep. Plus, we've got to continue to innovate and continue to develop new ways of doing things better. And WA's been an incredible home for leading the charge with that. In our own way, PLS, we've been having a crack at that too. Yeah. We've got to keep that up. And then if we do those things, well, of course we can grow market share and be the dominant supplier long term.
unlike some of the other players, even those here in Western Australia, we don't see headlines involving PLS signing these big name agreements with Tesla or other car companies, like we have seen. You've deliberately steered away from that sort of partnership. Why is that?
Yeah, so firstly, we'll talk to anyone who wants to do a good deal, but it's about alignment. And so what we've typically found, to generalise, is that the end of the supply chain wants the lowest cost. Car companies, we of course want the highest cost to maximise the margin per lithium unit. So that's a bit of a difficult starting point for commercial negotiation. In contrast, the next step of the supply chain, the chemical converters like us, are all about maximising value per lithium unit. So typically we've ended up working more with that part of the sector, and so far very successfully.
Yeah, okay. And failing that, you just put it on eBay.
You got it.
Given that battery technology generally is still evolving, it's changing every day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you worried about something coming along that might knock lithium off its perch, or at least eat into your demand?
Sure.
Is there any other tech that's got you a little bit wary?
The short answer is no. I mean, we're not complacent, and we keep our radar alive and looking out what's happening. But sort of the observation I'd make is that the battery war and chemistry, lithium seems to be the common ingredient. Now, the actual lithium plus other battery components, there's plenty of change happening there, but the lithium is the common ingredient. We're not seeing any credible threat emerging, at least not yet. And further, there's just been so much build out on the lithium supply chain, and so costs have got even lower as more scale has come, plus this iterating improvement. They're just getting more and more energy density. So for these reasons, lithium's got a hell of a head start on anything else. That being said, there are some tech which shows promise. Now, the sodium-ion battery gets talked about from time to time. That could well play a role, but a different role, in that it's much less energy dense and it's actually very, very heavy. So because it's very heavy, that's not really good for e-mobility cars, but maybe that one day plays a role with mass energy storage. Hasn't happened yet, but we'll continue to keep an eye out.
So stories around about the likes of BYD experimenting with sodium-ion batteries in their prototype vehicles, that doesn't concern you at this point?
No, I mean, there's been several iterations trying to have a crack at that, and CATL particularly has been very vocal at different points about sodium-ion, but it just has not come to bear. And it's fundamentally too heavy, and the energy density is less. Plus, as I say, lithium's just got cheaper and better.
Yeah. I'm keen to know a little bit more about you, Dale.
You sure?
Born and bred Kiwi. Well, we're about to find out, I suppose, aren't we? From what I've learned about you, you seem like someone who, liked to get out there and earn a dollar as a kid. You developed a pretty strong work ethic, doing all sorts of different jobs through school. You had a sense of adventure that probably made your mum a little bit nervous at times.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially with so many mountains nearby.
Yeah.
Thinking back to teenage Dale, what did teenage Dale want to do with his life?
Yeah, look, give me a few flashbacks. Look, I was drawn to engineering because of just building big things.
Yeah.
It's pretty much in a simple way. Look, like most engineers, pretty good with the sciences and terrible with spelling. Sort of pursued engineering was really the obvious course for me, and happy to have done that. But certainly school days I was incredibly industrious. Paper runs, I used to deliver for the chemist on my bike, and used to grow veggies and sell it to the neighbours. You name it, I did it.
All sorts. Yeah.
I did it. But with mixed success, Mum used to take the veggies.
Yeah.
So I learnt that.
To feed you.
But to me it was a business. But anyways, there was no avenue.
You're literally eating your profits.
I couldn't prosecute Mum. I just had to accept it was a cost of business.
So after graduating in as a civil engineer, what did you want to do? Just go and build big things?
Yeah, so I went into a generalist engineering consultancy first, which was great for diversity of experience, and shortly into that, I got seconded to a coal mine, of all places. And that was really my first foray into resources, and that was really the start of my career in different resource companies.
Yeah, and from there you gravitated really towards oil and gas after that. What was it about the oil and gas sector that made you want to go there?
I had it in my head that was the place to be. I was keen on the scale, the technical complexity, and that particular opportunity was in the Middle East, which I was really excited by. So I took the opportunity to get over there and spend quite a few years there, sort of working up the chain. And by the end of that, I was convinced I was a hydrocarbons guy, and ultimately ended up coming back to Aussie and ended up getting back into mining.
How you've changed then.
Yeah, it's changed a bit. Yeah, I'm making up for things now.
A couple of years at Fortescue in between, but in 2017, you got the invitation to go to PLS, which was in its very early stages at that point, of course. You also had, as I understand, a pretty plum offer on the table from a well-established, well-credentialed, respected gold miner, which a very different, dare I say, safer option than the one that you took.
Yeah, that's...
what can you tell us about your decision-making at that time?
Well, I have to be careful. My wife's in gold. There might be a few gold people here. But of course, tough decision. And ultimately what drove that decision was really the attraction to the project and the team. Although the lithium demand was an uncertain thing at that time, meeting the team here and what they were trying to achieve, I was just really excited by that. Yeah. But it did seem, to some, a bit of a strange choice. And certainly to the headhunter who was liaising with me for the gold company, years later shared with me, he thought I was absolutely mad and what an idiot for doing that. And sort of said, I think that was actually the right call now, Dale. Yeah. You did okay.
So no regrets?
No regrets. And I should say, people who are in gold are very intelligent and very good looking, and so nothing wrong with gold.
We're recording this now, so
it's why I'm saying it.
Exhibit A, well done. Do you want to say it again? Straight down the barrel. In terms of the company that you now lead, PLS, can I ask you, why the name change, by the way?
From Pilbara Minerals gets confused with a number of things, including being the Pilbara, mineral resources. We get abbreviated often to the Pilbara, so those were a couple of practical reasons. Yeah. And because we're very imaginative, we thought PLS, it's our ticker code. Yeah. Let's go with that.
Makes sense. Okay. In terms of the company that you now lead, have done as CEO and MD for 3 and a bit years, what are you most proud of, and what would you like to think the company now stands for, and the culture that you've tried to instill?
Yeah, look, I'm proud of the team we've built and what they've delivered. It's been a hell of a journey. And it's been, just incredible, just this fight for these periods of jubilation and highs and plummeting lows, fighting for survival. All of that's happened. It's been through the team and the way the teams work together, which has been this combination of can-do attitude, grit, resilience, innovating. We had to be very pioneering, and it's worked out. So that's what I'm most proud of. As to the culture, look, I like to think it's a lot of those words I just mentioned, and I think there is an aspect of real positivity about the industry we're supporting and what it means for the world. So all of those things, I think, sort of come together.
Yep. Okay. Let's get to some of the questions from the audience. You'll be probably not shocked to hear the top question on the Slido app is about any potential disruptive battery technologies moving forward, which hopefully, Daniel, who posed the question, we've covered that one already. The next most endorsed question here asks about lithium pricing, currently being driven by China, mine closures and then reopenings. Are the market fundamentals now actually any different to the last 2 years?
Yeah, to talk about this, it's probably worth just quickly touching on two parts. In terms of the fundamentals, we're anticipating shortfalls, a head care of underinvestment and supply that I mentioned. We haven't seen that yet occur in inventory levels, but a lot of the market's anticipating that will occur soonish. That's the big question mark in terms of fundamentals. And I think it's an inevitability that it happens given that underinvestment and supply. That's sort of part A, but part B is pricing behaviour. within the lithium market, because it's immature, what we see is outsized price responses based on rumours. And we see that cutting in both directions depending what's ever sort of launched through the media. So both dynamics are at play, but a lot of recent volatility has been news-driven as opposed to fundamentals.
I was going to ask you about the short sellers too, who have made a real go at PLS over the years, haven't they? How do you, how do you view the culture of short selling and the fact that you've been a very popular target for them?
We have, number one for quite a while, a heavy crown. So we were most shorted stock for a good year there, and really what's behind that is for a lot of the hedge funds, they want to bet pricing. So if you're looking for an instrument to bet pricing, there's not many options, but PLS is one of them because we're a large, liquid, pure play with a direct correlation to pricing. So for that reason, we occupied the top spot for quite a period during the decline, and we are seeing an unwind on that. From a practical perspective, it doesn't affect the business at all.
Okay, all right. Just on the issue of pricing, a question here asks about your roundtable idea that you've mentioned previously to set lithium prices similar to iron ore 20 years ago. Have you taken any steps to pursue this?
We've had cursory discussions with industry participants about really the need for industry to come together to further the conversation, to further mature the market. That's basically as far as it's got. There is a building appetite to do this, but there's quite a few things to work through in terms of governance to have that conversation. Obviously, groups get cautious about anti-competition laws, that type of thing. So very much very early days on that front.
All right, Dale, we are out of time. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions. Dale will be here for a little bit longer, so if you want to chase him up and get an answer on one of your questions, then I'm sure he'd be only too happy to answer the questions in the Slido app. So thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your insights into PLS and the lithium sector generally. It's a fascinating sector, and it's going to be an interesting few years ahead, as it has been the few years that have just gone before us. So thank you once again. I'll get you to stay there, and I'll invite Jordan up to offer an official vote of thanks. Thanks, Dale.
Tim.
Thank you, Dale. It's not every day we get to hear directly from someone leading one of Australia's biggest lithium producers and shaping the future of critical minerals. Our members have been asking to hear from you for a long time, so we're very proud to have you land on this stage and really appreciate your time. On behalf of the WA Mining Club Committee and all our members, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, mate.